Not to be too rambly here, but first we've heard several people, and I know the Conservation Law Foundation later in July when they give their testimony have talked about the surplus of energy in the zone. So I just really want to zone in on that, and that's a fact that this power plant is not necessary to meet demand. That's a fact, and I think that needs to be taken really seriously. I didn't write down the numbers, but I know the Conservation Law Foundation and several other folks have brought that to your attention. And that's a fact, that this power plant is not necessary to meet demand. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the expected projected ratepayer savings of this project. So initially, Invenergy said that this project would save Rhode Islanders $120 million in the first year. Then a couple months later, they reduced that number to $42 million. And then an independent analyst with the Conservation Law Foundation found that the savings will be from 0 to $36 million. So it's not really clear. The numbers seem to keep changing, even from Invenergy, about what the potential ratepayer savings would be. So I think that's something that your commission needs to get to the bottom of, and look at independent analysis of that data. Another thing we've heard a lot about, we need gas plants to back up renewables. But actually, there's a new technology that's called energy storage, where they create these systems to store renewable energy so you no longer need fossil fuel plants to back that up. Actually, at the Energy Storage North America 2015 conference, the big headline article out of that conference was, in quotes, "Why energy storage is key to a future with no more gas turbines." At that conference, a company won an award for the best energy storage systems in the country, and that company was Invenergy. So they know this is fact too. We don't need gas plants anymore to back up renewables. Another thing, we talked about the MTBE, toxic, contaminated, poisonous water that Invenergy wants to use at the power plant. So in the winter months, according to their own application, about 700,000 gallons a day of this water will be airborne. So I want to read a quote from the Delaware Health and Social Services about MTBE and its effects on animals when it goes airborne. So the quote is, "Animal studies of airborne MTBE."
Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm on my quotes, so I can just think about it. Animal studies of airborne MTBE showed nervous system problems as the most common effect. For about an hour, the animals acted drunk. They became less active, fell down, and had partly closed eyes. Some rats and mice died, and some had nose and throat irritation. Long-term problems were less weight gain, kidney disease, cancer, and enlarged livers. There were birth defects in some of the young. So when we're talking about the impacts and the justification in terms of the cost of this plant, so that's the effect of airborne MTBE on animals. So you can imagine what that effect will be on humans. And if you look at Invenergy's own chart, they show 50 kilometers of where their pollution is going to fall down across the state. So that's a cancer cloud that they want to put into the air, and that will impact Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. That needs to be taken really seriously, what the effect is of airborne MTBE. And talking about climate change, right? So in Pakistan right now, Reuters, international known news agency, reported that in Pakistan, communities now are digging mass graves in preparation for the heat waves that are coming. So they're digging mass graves to bury their family members and their loved ones. And that's real, and that's an impact that needs to be considered by this commission, by these lawyers, and by Invenergy, and by everybody that's deciding on this power plant. This is real consequences of building more fossil fuels. This power plant, according to Invenergy's application and crossed with the EPA's emissions calculator, will be the equivalent, just in the carbon emissions, of adding 700,000 cars a year on the road in Rhode Island. So this power plant contributes significantly to climate change, and that needs to be taken really seriously. And those numbers don't even account for the methane leaks that you've heard of earlier. In Rhode Island, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, 95% of the electricity produced in Rhode Island comes from burning gas. That's by far the highest in the country. It's not even close. So if we're talking about protecting ratepayers, if there's going to be this jump in gas costs, if it could happen for a number of reasons, right? And already 95% of our electricity comes from burning gas, that's going to really negatively impact ratepayers. So just on that alone, we need to diversify our, the way we produce electricity in this state. And just back on the ratepayer savings, I know Conservation Law Foundation said the ratepayer savings could be potentially 1%. Potentially 1%. And I just want to say for myself, I'm someone that lives below the poverty line. Potentially 1%, I'll take that in order for this power plant not to be built. And the whole conversation in the region is changing about natural gas, right? The Massachusetts Attorney General came out with a big report saying we don't need new gas pipelines. If we want to actually lower energy costs in the region, if that's what we're seriously about, is helping communities and helping people pay their bills, the best way to accomplish that goal is to invest in energy efficiency, right? Then the Maine Public Utility Commission, just about 2 weeks ago, came out and said we don't need more gas pipelines, even though all the elected officials in the state are saying we need them. So the conversation's really dramatically shifting. And to you, Commissioner, I just really ask, I know the governor appoints you to this position, and I know it's a great job, I know it pays well, and that's a real thing, right? So I just really ask you personally to be really brave and to be really courageous. And when you're thinking about this,